My brother drained my savings to settle his gambling debts, and somehow my parents persuaded me to let it go. But when he betrayed me again, I called him out in front of everyone at Thanksgiving dinner. A few years back, my brother asked to borrow my credit card to order takeout because his card was blocked dot instead of food. He used my card to access my savings and wiped out every penny to cover his gambling losses. That money was meant for a down payment on a house, but it vanished overnight. When I discovered what he'd done, I lost it. I locked myself in my apartment, drowning my anger in alcohol, and sent my brother a text saying I despised him and wished he'd burn. The next morning, my parents showed up at my door. They claimed his actions were forgivable because family matters more than money. I stared at them, stunned, then snapped that of course they'd say that. He's their perfect son who can do no wrong. My mom started sobbing, but when she saw I wasn't softening, she began yelling. I kicked them out, telling them they could join my brother in hell. He'd stolen over $75,000 from me, forcing me to renew my apartment lease when I should have been buying a home. It took years to save that amount, and it was gone in a flash. My parents kept complaining that they hadn't seen me in ages. I'd remind them why I stayed away, my brother, Tom, and they'd lecture me about regretting it when I'm old, saying I should treasure our limited time together. I agreed they could visit me if they wanted. Honestly, I didn't want them to, but I saw through their guilt-tripping game and refused to play along. My mom mentioned that Tom missed me, reminiscing about how he'd always love his little Emily, who got spaghetti tangled in her hair as a toddler. When I was young, Mom gave me spaghetti in my high chair. I despised spaghetti even then, and that day she learned why. After tasting it, I threw it everywhere, kicking and screaming, leaving the kitchen a disaster. I don't recall it, but Mom loved retelling the story, and it always made me laugh. Tom, about 12 at the time, swooped in to save the day. He lifted me from the high chair, cleaned me up, and helped Mom tidy the kitchen. Hearing that story again softened my heart toward our family. In a moment of weakness, I decided to give Tom another chance, but with strict boundaries this time. Forgiving him wasn't easy weeks past, and seeing his face or thinking of him still hurt, reminding me of the dream home I'd lost. I tried to be civil, and my parents seemed pleased with our progress. They invited me to family dinners, game nights, and movie nights, hoping to rebuild what we'd had, but the pain lingered. Months later. I started to relax around Tom. I could laugh more, leave my purse unguarded, and we even began hanging out alone. One of our favorite activities was ziplining. There was a zipline near my parents' place we loved as teens. It launched from a cliff in the woods and dropped into a lake. The height always terrified me, but going with Tom was fun again. After ziplining, we hit a fast food drive-thru because we were starving. When I went to pay, I noticed my main credit card was missing. My daily card, I wondered if it fell out at the zipline. Tom asked if I was okay, and when I explained, he offered to cover the meal. We ate and headed home. I dropped Tom off at our parents' place since he'd lost his car in a bet the previous year. At home, I checked my wallet again and found my card in a different pocket than usual. I chalked it up to exhaustion and went to bed. The next evening, I got a text from my credit card company asking to authorize a charge at a casino near my parents' house. The same one Tom blew his paychecks at every other Friday. My stomach sank. I couldn't believe he'd done it again. I declined the transaction and checked my other accounts. He must have photographed my cards during our outing. My other card apps showed I'd hit my monthly limits, which wasn't true. I tried disputing the charges, but the merchants had proof Tom made the purchases, so I was stuck with the debt. I called him, but he didn't answer. The call cut off mid-ring like he'd rejected it. Furious, I called my mom. I explained how Tom racked up $7,000 in debt across my cards that night. She promised to talk to him and call me back, but I told her I was coming over right then. It was nearly 11 p.m. when I arrived at my parents' house. I waited in the living room until Tom walked in. When he flipped on the light and saw me, he jumped. I demanded to know where my money was. He played dumb. I told him I knew he'd stolen my card info and threatened to call the police if he didn't confess. He broke down, admitting he felt guilty about ruining my house plans and wanted to win the money back at the casino to make it right. Needless to say, he lost it all. I asked why, if he felt so bad, he'd steal from me again. My parents came downstairs. Mom tried to calm things down, but I was done. He'd taken my house savings and buried me in credit card debt. My dream of owning a home anytime soon was fading fast. My parents stayed silent. Tom apologized repeatedly, but it was too late. I cut him off for good, telling them all never to contact me again. Weeks later, my credit score dropped over 100 points on my updated report. The loan I'd applied for was gone, and I had to take a second job on top of my 9-to-5. I was determined to buy my house and live the life I wanted. My phone rang constantly with calls from my parents and Tom. I ignored them. The worst part? Tom didn't even offer to help with the debt. He thought his good intentions of trying to win my money back excused him. I could never trust him again. I kept working to pay off the debt. The second job helped, but it was grueling. I'd come home exhausted, sleep 4 hours, and wake at 6 a.m. for my main job. This cycle wrecked my mental health. Once I'd paid off enough debt, I quit the second job and slashed my expenses. It was October, and Halloween decorations dotted lawns. My parents called 4 times that week. I answered the 4th, and they were thrilled to hear me. They reminisced about how much they missed me, recalling how Halloween was my favorite holiday. We'd carve pumpkins and watch Disney specials. Dad would decorate the yard, and we'd eat ghost-shaped cookies with hot cocoa. Mom begged me to visit, but I said they'd have to come to me. She agreed. The next week they came over and we talked, avoiding the obvious issue. Eventually, Mom invited me to Thanksgiving at their place, promising no drama, just a normal family gathering. I declined. Dad, who rarely asked twice, pleaded for me to forgive Tom and come against my instincts. I agreed to forgive Tom and attend, mostly to appease them. They hugged and kissed me, swearing Tom would never hurt me again. I wasn't so sure, but I'd go for Mom and Dad. Leading up to Thanksgiving, I felt isolated. I saw their social media posts about dinners and game nights, and though I wanted to be there, the betrayal still stung. I was still juggling bills and a ruined credit score, picking which payments to make each month. As Thanksgiving neared, I almost backed out, worried about my mental health. I called Mom, but she was buzzing about decorations and shopping, thrilled I was coming and telling the whole family. My plan to skip it was ruined on Thanksgiving. I drove to their house, stomach in knots, no appetite. Inside, my family laughed and chatted at the table. Tom acted like nothing had happened. Even joking with me, it infuriated me to see him so carefree, knowing I'd go home to sleep for work while he'd cost me my dream home. At the end of dinner, I couldn't hold back. I stood, heart racing, and faced Tom. I laid it all bare for the family, how he'd ruined me financially, forcing me to work multiple jobs to stay afloat. I said I didn't trust him, that he'd gone too far, and I was done pretending everything was fine. Then I turned to my parents, accusing them of enabling him for years, prioritizing fake family harmony over my well-being. The room fell silent. Tom tried to brush it off, saying it was in the past, but I shut him down. I declared I was done forgiving him and banned him from my life. I stormed out, expecting to face the consequences alone. But in the days that followed, other family members reached out. They apologized for not supporting me sooner, saying they didn't realize how bad it was. Some offered financial help to ease the damage Tom caused. I wasn't as alone as I thought. Not everyone was willing to ignore his actions. If this story hit home, please like, share, and follow for more real-life drama. Your support keeps these stories coming. Thanks for reading, and catch you in the next one.